I want to say welcome again to this month's Workshop Wednesday. We have an exciting client spotlight that Brian and I are looking forward to sharing with you today. So before we jump in, there's just a few reminders that we have. The session is being recorded and we will share it and post it on our YouTube page for future reference, as well as in a wrap-up email that you'll receive after the video gets formulated and everything gets put together. So please, as we go through the presentation, if you guys have any questions, please do put those in the chat with your name and company, and we'll follow up with you directly following the webinar with any questions that you may have. And if it's a question directly for Sammy, we'll follow up with you afterwards as well. Also, for just our house cleaning before we go, your feedback helps us make our Workshop Wednesday sessions more valuable for you and your teams. So if you could take just a quick minute, scan the code and let us know what you guys are thinking. It only takes, takes less than 60 minutes, 60 seconds. I say that every time, Brian. I always slip up and say minutes. It takes less than 60 seconds to complete. I probably need to change that verbiage on my script, right?
There you go.
Less than 60 seconds. So if you guys could just scan it and give us your feedback, it helps us just determine what kind of content we need to have and if these are valuable for you guys. So let us know what you think about the Workshop Wednesdays and how things are going. And then also Brian is going to drop links and things in the chat as we go through today's discussion. So he's got the QR code or the link for the SurveyMonkey in the chat as well.
Absolutely. Just dropped it in there for you.
Thanks, Brian. This here is your client success team here at Agile Fleet. You got me, Brian Hall, and Jen Pearson. Again, we're your advocates, strategic partners, and here for fleet industry resources. So keep us in mind as you guys, if you have any questions or need help with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to us for any support that we can provide. All right, so now on to the good stuff. Today, we get the opportunity to talk with Sammy Parcell about how they are using FleetCommander at University of Tennessee Knoxville and some of the future projects they're considering. Sammy has participated in a case study with our marketing team in the past, and we do have that linked here on this page. Some of the stuff that we'll talk about today is based off of some of the content from the case study, as well as some cool future stuff that they're doing. So we're going to jump into that. But before we do formal introductions of Sammy, Brian has a few questions for you.
Well, these are the unrehearsed questions, Sammy, that we hit everybody with, a little Q&A. So for the man, the myth, and the legend.
Well, let's give it a go here.
All right, some icebreakers. Coffee or tea? Coffee or tea?
Oh, I'm trying to shake coffee, but I can't. I love it.
All right. So coffee it is. First car.
Brown 1982 Toyota Corolla with a pop-up sunroof and crank windows. Nice. And one good speaker. So.
Very good. Was the speaker good by the time you got rid of it?
No.
No? I love it.
Too much Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears.
All right, very good. All right, if you had to pick, you lose one thing, your phone or your keys, which one are you losing?
Do I still have to answer the phone if my phone is missing? I'll say phone. Losing the phone sounds great. I love to drive too much.
Very good. Love it. All right, dog guy or cat guy?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Neither or both.
What's next? No, don't like dogs. I like cats, but I'm allergic, so I don't know. I always say chickens. My 12-year-old just got chickens this last weekend, so I'll prefer chickens. I can eat them when I get tired of them.
I should have gone with farm animals. That was a miss on me. All right, last one. Sedan or pickup? Which one are you driving? If you had to choose.
Well, I'm driving a sedan, but I would love a Tacoma.
All right. All right,
awesome.
A taco to go. Very good.
Thank you, Brian and Sammy, for doing that. I think that's always a little fun exercise to just break the ice. So, Sammy, we're really glad to have you today. We've had some great conversations. But can you just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your background at UTK?
Yeah, sure thing. Well, again, I'm Sammy Parcell, Director of Fleet Management here for the University of Tennessee. believe it or not, 13 years ago, I was a bank teller with BB&T, now Truist. Then a few months after that, I somehow woke up in the fleet industry, which seems to be pretty par for the course for most people I've talked to. Nobody aims for fleet, but us fortunate few end up in fleet. So started in fleet management back in October of 13. Came in actually as the rental dispatcher up front. So washing the cars, dealing with issues here on the front line, handing out keys. We had a board up front. In fact, we still do, where we would keep slots for each of our keys, and we would physically hand out the keys to individuals between office hours. Back when we first started, we used an antiquated homegrown system to try to keep track of our reservation system. But that was back in 13. Shortly after that, I was promoted into an accounting specialist role. Started manually entering tri-copy manual copies of work orders. We were very much a pen and paper operation at that point, and completing the billing. Slid into the business manager role, at which point the short-term rental operation, we have about 100 or so vehicles that we oversee here, fell under my purview. Slid into the assistant director position after that, and then as of 2022, was promoted into the director position after our previous director, Chris Taylor, took another job for the county of Charleston. And I've been doing that ever since. I'm married. Actually, my wife and I are going to have our 20th anniversary this December. We've got a 16 and a 12-year-old. 12-year-old's into chickens, and the 16-year-old is to Lord knows what, because she won't tell me anymore. So
that sounds par for the course. That's where I'm at with my 17-year-old right now.
Been told they come back around and around age 25. So begins my watch.
I keep hearing that. That's what I'm hoping for too.
Absolutely. So that was a great summary of you, Sammy. That's an awesome career there at UTK, and I love people growing through the ranks. That is fantastic. It's wonderful.
And a cool ride.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great entry to you. But what about UTK? Can you give us maybe a 30-second snapshot of UTK's fleets? How big is it? Who you serving? All that good stuff.
Sure, yeah, sounds good. Well, obviously, I'm the University of Tennessee Knoxville, so we're actually the flagship campus for the UT system. I think you're up to 5 or 6 different campuses across the state, plus several different institutes scattered throughout the state. We actively manage about 750 or so vehicles here for campus, anywhere from light-duty sedans, SUVs, minivans, up to, I think we've got like F-750s here in the fleet, and trailers, and Lord help us, golf carts. Those are taking over campus as well, too. So we've got, like I mentioned before, we've got about 100 or so vehicles that we utilize Agile for, along with the integrated key box for our 100 vehicle rental pool that we use for campus related travel, field trips, research trips, anything like that we can actually charge departments for. We are a service center, so we're 100% fee recoveries, help to keep our lights on here. We've got, I think it's up to about 70,000 potential drivers that we have at any moment, because technically anybody in the UT system could drive any of our rental vehicles or any of our vehicles at any given point. So we use Agile to help us keep track of a lot of the user profiles in the system. I think we do about 5,000 or so active reservations each year through the Agile system. We do about 3,300 work orders for our internal maintenance and repair shop that we have here. We outsource a few things, but just about everything that we can, we try to keep in-house. Travel about 4 million miles a year, honestly, for our fleet, at least for the ones that have a Geotab installed on them. And we're doing all of that with a staff of about 10 people. We got 2 people overseeing our rental operation, 3 in the business office, including myself, and 5 shop personnel. So, and for those who may be on this meeting, if you came to the 2023 command conference, we actually hosted back on campus here in Knoxville. We're in the same building. We still get the perpetual line that we'll be moving next year. However, we are still here. So hopefully you've had your tetanus shot if you ever decide to come by and visit.
Excellent.
Oh my goodness.
There's the dream team.
Yeah, so this is the team that you were just talking about. So before we, get into like the results that you've seen with Fleet Commander, set the stage for us. What did fleet operations look like at UTK before you brought on Fleet Commander, and what was the breaking point that led you guys to look for something better?
Sure. I'll even go a little bit farther back there too, because when I started about 12 and a half years or so ago, like I mentioned earlier, we were definitely a pen and paper operation, especially on the work order front. In the front office, we did have a homegrown very antiquated system, which was little better than an AS400 system that we had here to keep track of our daily rentals here in the process. We still handed out all the keys manually, didn't have any sort of quality reporting, and everything that we did was reactive. So we realized once OIT came to us and said that they were no longer going to support our homegrown system Transys, we had to find a vendor. So at that point, we kind of had to do the fancy footwork, because I think if I recall, we had about 3 months to go from the current software we had to something to fill the void. Found a vendor. They were a great partner and everything to help get us onboarded. It's a very laborious process, honestly, going from our old system, which had been made, I think, custom back in the 90s, to get into this new system. A lot of work, a lot of data cleanup, a lot of things that we lost, truly, because we probably had over 24 file cabinets here just with paper work order records that we'd had from over the years. So enter about 2019 or so, we started working with Agile to bring in their software to replace our current vendor. We had some pain points with them at the time, but Agile was able to come in with an integrated key box, which at the time we were having to manually program the separate third-party key box that we had to utilize our previous software. And it was very laborious. It was prone to human error, and it really only allowed reservations to be made during our office hours. So if somebody had a last-minute need, they were unfortunately out of luck. So they would have to wait until Monday to try to pull that together. But starting in 2020, which was a fortunate timing, we onboarded there with FleetCommander, used their Agile system, and haven't really looked back.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. So in reading the case study, you cited that there was about a 33% reduction in fleet when you're able to get enrolled in Agile and kind of look at some of the data. So could you, I mean, that is a big move. That's a huge savings. Could you walk us through that, how the data supported you and how that whole thing went down?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for us, it was the big pull was really just having the reporting finally available. You know, we had a lot of anecdotal information. We had quite a large staff at that point, so we had sort of a collective hive mind worth of knowledge, but we never had any data that we could actually use to create actionable items to work on. So around this time period, I don't know if anybody ever remembers, but there was an event called COVID that happened that threw everything on its head. So there were a lot of things we had to do to try to control costs, and credit to our previous director. I think a lot of departments and even outside entities, you know, it's always the soft underbelly of a business that the easiest way to cut costs is start cutting people. Well, that was not his approach in here. So we actually were able to leverage the Agile data that we had to identify too many of particular types of vehicles, underutilized vehicles, and of course the vehicles that were just the nice to have sitting around. So we were able to make some changes, such as, you know, going from large cargo vans down to stow and go minivans, which honestly probably addressed 80 to 85% of our demand at the time. So we could just put the seats flat, they go do their cargo run, come back. We didn't have to buy a $30,000 cargo van at the time. So we also downsized our 12 passengers. That was a big move for campus because we move a lot of bodies when it's time to move them, but they were just too much to honestly hold during those slower COVID years. And we had data to prove that up. That was kind of what was beautiful about it. But then we also had those nice to have loaner vehicles where we probably had, say, 10 or so sitting around. And again, very convenient when you need a vehicle to come in for service, immediately give them a loaner vehicle. But when they were only moving 2 or 3 days a month, and we could prove that with the records, it was time for them to go. So we greatly cut down on cargo vans, 12 passengers, and then also those loaner vehicles we had in our fleet.
Yeah, there were some major changes for a lot of us at that time frame, right? All right. So something that we've discussed, you know, multiple times multiple occasions is, you know, higher ed and it having a cyclical business cycle. Can you talk to us about how FleetCommander reporting helps you guys manage that seasonality?
Yeah, we love that, especially with the reservation. I call it the reservation data dump. I guess it's just the reservation report in there. But we always, again, kind of had anecdotal general knowledge of kind of what our busy seasons throughout the year were. But having that data in place, especially once we've had it for now, we're going on 6 years, and we can actually look back, say, over the last 5 years and really kind of see those peaks and valleys. in our operation. It helps us to plan our fleet a lot better. It gives us a great opportunity. So if we know we're going to be dead essentially from Black Friday until Valentine's Day, we can go ahead and start culling vehicles from our fleet, whether that means pushing them out to campus for a long-term lease situation. We can go ahead and sell them, try to get some residual and some additional cash in the bank for when we purchase the new vehicles in the spring. And just generally kind of even helping us with our relationship with our local sublet vendor enterprise. You know, if we know that the first week of August, we're just going to get our, what's kicked because we've got 100 or so vehicles out back, during move-in week here on campus, we could probably have 130 vehicles in our fleet. So, but our local enterprise location can't handle that sort of last minute demand. So we actually have the opportunity now to reach out to enterprise and say, hey guys, based on the last 3 years worth of data, we're probably going to need 6 12 passengers, 10 minivans, and 5 sedans. Can you go ahead and start working on that? And then they have the opportunity to pull that together to make sure we're meeting our needs. But it's just good because it gives us a whole lot of transparency to the information that we already kind of had a feel for, but now we can really get down and plan to the day, even for like home football games. Same thing. As soon as we know that we're going to have a home football game, we may need to bump up our fleet to have more vehicles available from our sublet vendors. So just awesome transparency.
Yeah, that's great information. We notice kind of similar things with graduations and recruiting season and trends like that as well from the software. So that's really exciting.
And I didn't really address your graph there either, but we did obviously go from 120 down to 80 and then back up to 100 again. Well, don't judge me too harshly there, because from the time we had we had this conversation back during COVID, there were, I think, 34,000 students on campus. Now we're up over 40,000. So just trying to keep up, honestly, with that student growth, plus just the exponential growth of the other departments here on campus. We again yet had the data available to go in and actually realize that we could save some money from enterprise if we were able to increase the size of our fleet and meet particular situations too, where we had cut back on some 12 passenger vans to begin with. Well, we have a sort of a chokehold on us with enterprise where you have to be 25 to drive a 12 passenger van. Well, while they have a solid argument there, we have a lot of situations on campus here and a lot of student groups where you're not going to have a 25-year-old able to rent that vehicle. So we have got a little more vehicles in our fleet to try to kind of slosh those around to meet age requirement restrictions. And just having the reporting in place and the justification of the extra vehicles helps us provide a better service.
It's amazing. So you were able to utilize the data to shrink your fleet when it needed to shrink. But since then, you've moved in the opposite direction to continue to serve your customers the way that they need to be served and run an efficient fleet. And you're still slightly under where you began several years ago. So that's an amazing story right there.
Yeah, we're doing it intelligently. That's the cool part.
Yeah. And you've got the data to back up that justification. So
yeah.
All right. Okay. So when we were going through the case study, this was a statistic that I think would really kind of stop people in their tracks. It might be a little misleading too, 32 to 10, because there's some stuff that goes into this. But the department had 32 staff members. Today, you're operating the same fleet with 10 people on site. How are you doing that?
Well, and it is a combination of reasons there, Kristen, so I appreciate specify that way. But again, when I came on board 12 years ago, we were just a grossly overstaffed entity. Probably not, probably a little rude to point it out, but we were very much operating where there's one guy digging a hole and 5 guys watching. So we had plenty of opportunity and low-lying fruit, honestly, or low-hanging fruit to try to address that. But again, when I started, we actually had 2 full-time employees who pumped gas all day long. We had $50,000 worth of inventory for everything from a 1957 Ford up. We got rid of a whole bunch of that stuff. We had 2 different shop shifts in here, which if you came in at any given Tuesday at about 9:30, there was usually a card table and a deck of cards out in the shop. So I mean, there was definitely some opportunities to leverage in there. We also had a pretty solid student pool here as well, which most of the time their job was to answer the phone. When it would ring, they would jolt up out of their quality nap, take the reservation over the phone, jot down on a notepad actually what the department wanted to request, hand it off to a dispatcher who would then go into our software at the time and try to see if there was actually a vehicle available. So there was plenty of opportunities to be had, but when we brought on the other vendor, we were able to save a little bit of effort on that one. But then really when we kind of started knocking it out of the park with Agile, with the integrated key box and the way that you guys were able to conform to our just call it super janky billing system. We do things, I think, a little bit differently than most entities out there. That's where we started to see a lot of benefit in the software, where it was just cutting back on the number of employees that we need. For instance, I was when I started working here, I was one of 3 people working in the dispatch line just to handle, lightly cleaning some of the vehicles and handling all the customer issues. Now with Agile, you can totally go from beginning to end with the integrated key box, where you don't even need to talk to a person. So while we do still have 2 quality people here overseeing the rental portion, on a good day where things aren't too chaotic, Agile allows us to almost run the ship here, honestly, with a single person. So that saves some opportunities there as well. Also, again, kind of forecasting need, we have the ability to forecast our part-time labor. So we've got 2 awesome guys actually that work in our wash bay right now, but it helps us to see, how many hours do we actually need to allocate each week just to kind of tackle the vehicles that we've got coming in. So it's just, again, more educated decisions that we can make, really kind of streamline it down to 10 just really high quality full-time employees that we have here in the department, with some supplemental part-time assistance for situations like the wash bay. So it's just leveraging the technology has been great.
Yeah. And when we were talking, you had mentioned that, some of that employee attrition, it had been from, retirement and just folks moving through, their life cycle of employment. And, can you maybe speak to how the software helped accommodate some of that?
Yeah, well, and it was kind of nice on that front too, because we have an older generation here and an experienced generation, and a lot of them had a lot of that knowledge in their brain, and they could speak to it if they were here. But if they were ever out, we had an issue with that. But we were able to kind of take a lot of that information and actually add it into the reservations or add it into the actual asset notes as well, and kind of keep track of a lot of that information. We also actually at our kiosk out back, we have a printer set up with a kiosk. So when you come and get your key out of the key box, it shuts out a printing pass, which you can then put on your personal vehicle during your rental, and you can actually conveniently park right outside our building. So in doing so with that one, we almost eliminated all of our student employees at that point, because their job before was either to answer the phone or to jump in a vehicle and go pick up that individual across campus, adding to the wear and tear on these vehicles just to get people to this location because our lot was so full. But with the automation of the Agile system, we didn't need the students to cover that base anymore. Again, especially with the automation, they don't need to speak with a human at all unless it's a special circumstance or if something falls outside the software.
Well, that's awesome, though. I mean, though you talk about the part-time guys in the wash bay, just to see them, or just to be able to allow them to see where you've grown through the organization. I mean, the career path and the possibilities. That's pretty amazing story right there. That's got to be inspirational for some of those younger generation that are coming into fleet, and maybe they've never even thought about fleet, and to see that and have that experience, that's pretty remarkable. So I love that. I think that's great. Yeah.
We do collectively have a younger group here on campus as well. But even that's kind of one great thing about working at UT as well, is like, even if you hit a bottleneck in your career working at fleet management, we're more than happy to try to help people springboard within UT or outside of UT as they continue their adventure. Because I think everybody would agree at this point, like we're not the generation now that gets a job, stays there for 35 years and retires. Like, unfortunately, you've got to keep moving to build your skill set, and of course the hourly that goes along with it.
Yeah, that example is great too, though. It applies back to what you were saying at the beginning about your journey. Like, there are very few people that I think we've met in the fleet industry that, they graduate from high school and they're like, I'm going to be a fleet manager someday. Right. It's a hole that we find and we figure out we're good at filling, and then we stay.
Exactly.
We fortunate few. That's it.
That's it. It sucks you in, and then you're just there loving it every day. So, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in one of those, while we were talking about that stuff, you also brought up your billing side. You mentioned that, and this is an area where you guys are a little weird. with lots of accounts and dozens of codes and stuff. How does Fleet Commander help you guys handle that complexity?
Sure. And this was really one of the primary. Well, for me at the time, I was the business manager, so it was my prime issue. But issues we had with our previous vendors that while they could collect all of our charges and roll it up into a uploadable file to help us do our billing, it never balanced. There was always something always out there. There was some gremlin in the system, something like that, and we couldn't get the support at that point to help us solve the mystery as to why we weren't billing out what we should have been. So we ended up taking a lot of losses at the time. So the billing pain points, really in conjunction with the integrated key box for Agile, those were the things that really caught our eye on the front end. But our billing stuff, and I should have had Jake on this call as well. He's the one that oversees all of our billing here for the department, but it's a monstrosity. But working with Agile, they were able to incorporate all of the crazy different versions of accounts we have. I mean, we've got some, I think they're close to like 30 digits long, our chart of account structure. And when you've got hundreds of different short-term rentals, and we've got 500 or so monthly long-term lease charges, we've got thousands of fuel purchases, we've got all of our work orders that we end up billing out. Then we also have vehicles in our system that we just kind of have to keep in our system so that when UT wants to have a fleet list of how many F-250s do we have in our fleet, we actually have a record of them in our system, because our software and our records are actually a lot better than actually UTK's asset records as well. But bad account numbers were always a pain in the neck. Agile has a way to actually upload account numbers into their system to verify, which was able to head off a lot of that drama that we had. We had an old ERP system with Campus, which actually worked better now than our new Oracle system, but we're still working out some options there as well. But account verification saved a lot of drama back when we were with the old system, and we're looking forward to getting that going as well. But the biggest thing too, like those were the pain points for fleet management, but there's a lot of pain points for our end users, especially for the accounting associates and whatnot across campus who could never really get a remittance advice, or really, kind of an invoice for the funds that we were taking from them. We had all the records in-house, but we didn't really have what I would say is a quality record to give back to the departments to explain why we took $12,000 from the account the last month. But Agile went through and actually helped us create an entire custom Excel file that has all the columns we want, sorted the way we needed to, where we can just save it as a PDF, post it on a team site for individuals to come access. They get all the information they need, and they're off to the races. So it's much better, much better than what we had before. We're not quite to the easy button stage. There's still some integrations that we have yet to pay for. The director here is super cheap and has not covered those yet, but he's probably going to wear that. We do manually upload. We do manually upload like our Wix fuel records, and of course our work order system as well. But we're getting much closer, and looking to continue relationships with Agile to see if maybe there's even some improvements we can make on the billing side there, because I think you guys have a new billing algorithm and everything that you guys have worked on here recently as well. So we'll explore that a little fuller, but we're very happy with the Agile billing system as it is right now.
I love the foreshadowing that you're dropping for some of my wrap-up slides here, Sammy.
There you go. There you go.
Steal our thunder, Sammy. Steal it.
No. He's building it up, right?
Building the anticipation, yeah. So, Sammy, let's talk about where the rubber meets the road a little bit. So, you referred to the grab and go feature in Fleet Commander as kind of your ace in the hole. So, could you kind of walk us through the problems that's solving for you, and maybe if you got any examples of, wow, this really saved our hide here, or anything like that you'd like to share?
Well, the best thing for me is I'm not getting any 5 a.m. phone calls on Saturday morning, which is just terrible, if you can't imagine. But that was the issue that we had before as well with our previous box, the non-agile box, is that if anything happens, anything out of a perfect reservation process, there was nobody there after hours to assist. So my phone would like to blow up all weekend long, which is especially fun if you're out camping out in the woods with a bunch of scouts trying to answer your phone and I get somebody a rental vehicle remotely. But the grab and go feature here, I mean, I think this is arguably probably our best received product on campus. Every month we do surveys for the folks that have used our service in the previous month for the short-term rental, and we're knocking it out of the park there. We get compliments on the grab and go feature as well, because what's beautiful about it is it empowers the drivers to actually fix their own issue there. So if they come to the kiosk in the morning, pull their key out. They're so excited to go and jump in their Camry out here, and the front left tire is flat. That's a Saturday morning phone call for Sammy in any other given situation. But now we can train our users that they just go back in, put that key back in the box, do a grab and go, which for those who aren't familiar with it is just like making a new reservation right there on the spot. They're at the kiosk. Same thing. Key box door opens. They get their second set of keys. They go out to the vehicle. They do their little walk around. They're off to the races. They've only lost about 2 minutes of their life, and they were able to fix the issue without having to panic and try to wait for that game of phone tag. So it's highly rated by the departments for those that we've been able to train. Again, they love having the power to address their own issues. Thus far, we haven't had a lot of known abuse of the grab and go. We do not allow customers to choose their vehicle, but we have had some situations in the past where somebody will keep doing a grab and go until they find the vehicle they want. But we shut that down pretty quickly. So
yeah. That's awesome.
There's creativity everywhere, right?
you'll never be able to fully head them off either. So they're creative people.
Job security, sir.
Yes, job security, but it is without a doubt made my quality of life immensely better, and I think a majority of our customers as well.
That's good. That's awesome. You had also mentioned when we were, kind of prepping and talking through some talking points with this, that your team members have talked about the vehicle availability, visibility on the customer side, the end user side, and that's really cut down on canceled requests. Can you talk us through how that works and what difference it's made for you guys?
Yeah, that was a surprising benefit that we got from Agile, which I hadn't really forecasted or seen before. But and I was shame on me, I was kind of bad on reading the release notes, I guess, when we had the latest update that actually added that feature to the software. So we actually had one of our customers pointed out to Sean, our rental supervisor out front, stating that they wanted to get a reservation for vehicle 3023. And we're like, well, that's awfully particular. Well, they pointed it out to us where they could actually go in, and it's beautiful. They can put in the vehicle request that they want, the time period, and it'll actually show a calendar view of whether or not vehicles are available. So at that point, for our sharper users out there, they can realize, maybe if they just pick up that vehicle a half hour later or bring it back 2 hours earlier, there actually is a vehicle available for them to request. So what they had done in the past, they didn't have that visibility. So they would just kind of keep spamming requests, hoping that they would actually get the combination of date and time exactly right so that vehicle would be available. Not to mention the fact that maybe they requested an SUV, but if they would just tweak it to a minivan, there's 10 of them available and ready to go. So we've loved that one. Again, that was sort of a surprising benefit that we've had, but for some of our super users out there, they've really been able to streamline their requests so that it's less work on our end, trying to clean up the pieces on the backside because they actually did some homework on the front end to fix it.
Yeah,
it's been well received.
I think that's a great example of how that system upgrade and enhancement could really help your business. When you've got those trips that have flexibility, they can go in and they can find, I just need to travel for 4 hours somewhere within these next 3 days. They can go in and they can find that availability. And like you said, it saves you that time. You're not getting that pending request to try and move things around and find room and play phone tag. We don't have a small SUV, but we have a sedan. Would that work? Or all the sedans are booked. Can I put you in a minivan for this trip? So that's a really great example there.
Absolutely. So Sammy, Geotab. Recently you integrated with Geotab for mileage. What was the catalyst for that? What kind of brought that on? And is there anything that kind of was interesting or surprising that you've been able to kind of pull out of that data now that you're getting it?
Yeah, I'd say honestly for me it was more my curiosity. Again, we've had the quality reporting with Agile, but especially on our short-term rental platform out here, we didn't really have any of the details as to how far were these vehicles traveling off campus. So bringing Geotab in combination here with Agile's, we were able to actually get really some fun data regarding exactly how our vehicles were used. Now, we don't track where they went, but we can see, how many vehicles are traveling 20 miles off campus and how many of them are going 700 miles off campus. Now, for us, again, we are no enterprise. We are a single location here in Knoxville. So having Geotab in there helps us kind of see, and it is a little retroactively, but we also record an estimated mileage up front. But we can see if individuals are taking vehicles kind of outside our support network, we can contact and work with them and say, hey, we need to put you in a different type of vehicle, or you know what, you're going to drive out to Austin. Let's go ahead and call Enterprise, get a new vehicle for you. So that way, if you do have an issue with your vehicle on the trail, you can get a new Enterprise vehicle out and about. So that was sort of a cool thing that we've had there as well. We don't currently bill by a per mile charge either. We're just a flat day, week, and monthly amount. But having that integration in place could help us in the future if we end up having to take a right angle and have to start charging again for a per mile charge. Mm-hmm. Or in my fantasy world, which is a whole other conversation, more of a per hour charge. We've got a lot of high idlers here on campus, and that's really kind of killing some of our maintenance and repair for some of these vehicles. But again, having that information, I think was going to be really beneficial if we ever get to that point. And then sort of a really kind of a fun little exercise that I did as well. I said that we can get the mileage after the trip, but we also have departments actually request what their estimated mileage is going to be on the front end. This was really just sort of I guess an agenda on my part to try to get a feel for EV travel in the future. You know, this is East Tennessee, state of Tennessee, Southeast. You know, we're not big into the EV market, but I know at some point it's going to start making sense. So I've been able to kind of go through and compare what people estimate their mileages will be now versus what their actual miles would be. And it turns out, believe it or not, that the estimates are way off. So we actually had, and this was just one particular month here in your screenshot, for the month of March, is that 46% of our trips for our short-term rental were under 250 miles, which means 46% of our trips could have theory been all EVs without anybody even having to mess with charging along the way. So, I mean, so that is already like a huge jump forward for me, which I think may expedite the conversation of maybe incorporating EVs on campus in certain situations. So I'm kind of excited to see about that one. And the 46% obviously doesn't include any charging. So if we were to offer like the WEX card with RFID reader, we could probably push that number to 70, 80% of our trips could be done with EVs. And of course, all the associated benefits and costs that go with that. But it was just an eye-opening, I guess, a little, was that sociology test, I guess, to kind of see where are the minds of our renters versus reality. So I think there's some benefit to that whenever that EV conversation takes place on campus.
Yeah, well, in a visual stat like that, it really helps with the range anxiety, right? I mean, I know EV conversation's been out there for a while, but in reality, how many of our folks are driving electric vehicles at all or on any sort of consistent basis, so that range anxiety is still something that's real for our clients and the customers that are driving these vehicles. But when you show them a stat like that, and you can even break it down by a department and say, hey, recruiting department, look at this, you know, this is what our stat is for the entire entity, but within your department, this is where we're at too. You've got those hard numbers, that data to share that point with them.
That is power, and it takes all the argument out of the discussion.
Absolutely. Okay, so the FleetCommander site, we've been talking a lot about the different ways that you're using it and how it's helping you out. So our site is can be customized pretty significantly, right? So we've got welcome page messaging, alerts, the way you way information is presented to drivers through the different tabs. How has UTK used that flexibility, and how has it landed with your customers?
Yeah, no, for us, it really saves a lot of phone calls and emails when you can just go ahead and directly put a lot of that information right there at the fingertips for our end users. I mean, especially having the welcome page, you can completely customize. We've got different links and everything on there to direct folks towards information, even maybe not about the rental process, but maybe it's about UT's chart of accounts, account number system, which can also be very confusing, which I will say probably one of my personal faults here with the Agile system is I'm very utilitarian in heart. I just want it to do a good job. I want it to provide the information and get it out there. Our site's not pretty. Again, we've got Sean, our rental supervisor out here. He's got a real artistic flair about him, and he makes it much more creative than I think we've ever had in the past when I was at the helm. But it's great because all the information is right there. You got your policies, You've got all of your, like the actual reservation, the request system in there. We like, for an example would be, we ask them to tell us their last 6 digits of the personnel number. We use the last 6 digits of the personnel number as the fuel card PIN for the fuel card that's actually kept in the vehicles. Well, nobody really knows what the fuel PIN is. So we're actually just able to insert a little note up there that says, hey, Sammy, it's going to be the last 6 digits of your personnel number. So when they're filling out their user registration, it saves us a lot of effort on the backside of having to go in and clean it up or reach back out and be like, no, Sammy, not 111111. We actually need to know your personnel number. So we have better quality data. The users then, and in some situations, are only then aware that they have a personnel number. So it helps stimulate that conversation as well. But we can just put in all the details and all the references that we need to for those frequent questions that we get tired of answering, and I'm sure our drivers get tired of asking. So it works out really well having all that functionality right there on the welcome screen and kind of walking them through the request process.
Having that consistency with your PIN numbers helps so dramatically too, because once it's through the organization, it's through the organization. So now everybody in the organization that's a driver is also a resource. Well, what's your PIN number? Here it is. It's the last 6 digits of my personnel number. Yours would be the same. So that's amazing. That's a great way to do that. Absolutely.
So we've also talked previously about TCO, total cost of ownership. Reporting is going to be a game changer in your conversations with departments about vehicle replacement. So tell us some more about how you see that playing out in the future for you as you're looking ahead.
Sure. Well, this was probably the feature that I was most excited about when I did at the customer advisory board there several years back, because UT historically, and if I'm being honest, even up until today, we don't have an active replacement schedule here. We
Right.
were very reactive on all those fronts. So it's difficult to go to a department head and say, hey, we're going to need to pull together $250,000 next year to replace vehicles 1, 2, and 3, when all they know is that fleet management busts their tail to make sure that uptime is as high as we can get it. They're being charged a bare minimum per month. Their life is going great. So now having this total cost of ownership information there, we've got Jake in our office who does most of the consultations with departments here. Now he can actually create a report and actually sit down with departments and actually show the numbers now on how they're losing fuel efficiency year over year and their fuel costs are going up. They can see that their downtime is going up because we had to replace the transmission for the second time in 5 years. All of this information right there. So it's going to make it empowering, I think, in discussions with the departments directly, but then also for me, I've got to kind of do the Oliver Twist approach and go on up the food chain and say, please, sir, may I have some more? Because we're going to need some capital influx here soon in order to start buying these vehicles to try to get on a respectable replacement schedule, which we are 20 years past needing to establish. But again, the data is the power. It's going to be right there. We can print it out in a report, gives all the information we need to make our decisions, everything that the department needs to replace their vehicle. And overall, again, it takes the emotion out of the conversation. You know, when it's just numbers on a page, it's so much easier. So much easier.
That's fantastic. So Sammy, the next part of the conversation here is one that I'm really excited to talk to you about, and that's how you guys are going to start potentially using FleetCommander in a whole different way. So you want to talk about what you guys are doing on campus there with your lifts through your maintenance team, as well as maybe some EMS and quick response teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's kind of funny because word on campus has gotten out, honestly, about the FleetCommander software that we use. So we have our facilities department, which actually already has a competitor box on campus that they use to keep track of their spare keys on campus. Well, it doesn't have the functionality or the depth of the functionality that they need to actually be able to track who has what scissor lift when. So they've got a whole fleet over there now that they're going to actually keep access to. But their biggest thing was reservations. They had no way to forecast kind of what their scissor lift need would be. They had no way to track any of the maintenance on there. So maintenance was falling by the wayside because they didn't even know where the vehicle was or who to reach out to get their hands on to do it. And they just had no foresight into honestly how their scissor lifts were being used. So they are again, they're planning on bringing this in-house, being able to track all of those lifts and get all that maintenance done when it needs to be done systematically, and then actually having a record that the maintenance was done as well versus their paper system. So kind of excited to see facilities. They actually reached out on their own to start that conversation. So like I said, the secret's out, and they've used our facilities over here, realized it was better than what they had. They're going to jump in as well. Then we of course had the other example here too. Part of the emergency response people on campus have a student group for EMS, and they're also looking into a key box, and that is really to kind of limit control to certain students who have been trained on particular equipment and certain medications to ensure that the equipment and medication is available to them when they need it for certain events. Like again, anything to do with football or anything on campus, I'm sure the student group is fully engaged. But if they don't have the specific permissions within Agile to access the EpiPen or the defibrillator or something like that, they're actually able to keep tighter control over who needs access to those devices and drugs, and not to mention, again, have a utilization justification as well later. So maybe they need 2 EpiPens as part of their kit or something because they're having to check it out all the time. But again, it's another one of those situations where the Agile product was known, and the EMS team heard about it and started a conversation. We're kind of curious to see how they utilize that going forward.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that for them. Just being part of those conversations with the facilities team and with the emergency response team, it's just a really neat way to utilize the tool that they have there. And the same thing with making sure that the student body has access to the proper items and don't have access to proper certain items. In talking with the facilities team, kind of goes along the same lines with the lifts, and they're also going to be utilizing it to making sure that certain lifts that require certifications are only available to the people that have those certifications. So it's a really good way to put some safety behind what's going on campus too. So that's a fantastic way to utilize the system. So really excited about that.
And I love the thinking outside the box for other ways to use the solution and the resource to meet, demands and needs on campus.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, last question we have. So for anyone that's in the audience who's maybe earlier in their FleetCommander journey, or maybe still making the case internally to invest in fleet management software, what's the one thing you'd want them to hear from you today?
Oh, well, with Agile, I mean, again, I think the biggest benefits to us is just the clarity of the information and actually the reporting available so that we can have actionable data to make good decisions, whether that's right sizing our fleet, maybe by type or by count, our staffing levels, again, kind of that fun little EV planning test that we went through there, and then also kind of making sure that we have a healthy relationship with our sublet vendors. But the information is there, it's readily available, it's easy to understand, it's just an easy software to use. Especially if you're not using it currently, it's really something that you should give a trial on to check it out, because it'll blow your mind on how well it works.
That's amazing.
Love it.
Sammy.
Love it.
Yeah, we love it. Thank you so much for doing this. We find this incredibly helpful for not only our clients, but for ourselves too. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for running through all this information. It's been fantastic.
Well, thank you guys too, and I really should give a plug here as well. I mean, you're not only buying the software honestly to help you run your organization, but every single person that you will meet at Agile will bend over backwards to help you get the job done. They humor me well. My crazy emails at 4:59 in the afternoon, just wanting to bounce around an idea. It's the expertise and the passion of the team kind of utilized really for consultation for me is. It's a huge benefit having a sounding board for the folks that live and breathe this every day and have exposure to other universities, other entities. I love every single person at Agile. And if you don't already have a deeper relationship with your representative, you're really missing out and not getting your money's worth. Please reach out to your team.
Sammy, thanks for the plug.
Yeah, thank you, Sammy. That was very nice of you to say. Thank you very much.
I love it.
For any of you that don't know where to find it, I'm also going to drop a link here to the case study that Sammy did a little while back. So if any of you'd like to go out and read that, it's in the chat as well. So,
yep. And it'll also be on the slide deck when you get that in the following communication as well. All right. So on that note, again, Sammy, thank you so much. We really appreciate you doing this. And we're just going to jump into, our wrap-up information and what we've got coming up, resources we have, upcoming sessions, and go from there. So Workshop Wednesday playlist. As we've mentioned in our intro, we record and post all of these Workshop Wednesdays to our YouTube channel. So check out our playlist for the previously recorded material. We've got the QR code here on this slide deck. So this is a great resource for refresher information, or when you have new users coming into your agency. There's great references and resources out there. And like I said, we've got all of our previously recorded material out there for you to go through. I find myself going back to the reports ones frequently because there are so many out there and so many things that you can look at. We are doing our Workshop Wednesdays every third Wednesday of the month at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Quarterly, we will cover best practices, partner spotlights, and product updates. So we've got our quarterly cadence listed on here and the themes each month. Next month, we'll be reviewing our most recent product updates and releases. I think an email just went out yesterday about our refreshed FleetCommander experience, which Alexis will walk us through next month, as well as provide a summary for the version 6.02 release. She'll also cover configurable billing functionality. Sammy kind of mentioned a little bit about some of that earlier in the presentation, and then we'll wrap up the session next month with a preview of what's coming in quarter 3. So we're also, we're always looking for client feedback on content to cover in these Workshop Wednesdays. So please let us know what you guys think and share what you are doing. And what you would like to see in these. We want to share the great things that you guys are accomplishing, and I think this is just a great way to do that and make it so that other folks can see some best practices on how folks are using the software and things like that. So if you're doing something really cool, let us know so we can feature you. And if you've got feedback or thoughts, let us know that too. Your resources that we have available for you. We've got the link for the Workshop Wednesdays. We have online resources, webinars, case studies, white papers on our website. And then FC Drive is where we have our training material and manuals. So there are some really great quick reference videos on that site for how-tos and things like that on our most frequently asked questions at the support desk. There's just some really great resources out there. Command 2026 is set and registration is open. We are going to Glendale, Arizona this year. The dates are November 3rd through 5th. There are so many cool things that are in the works here at Agile Fleet. I think Brian and I get a chance to talk about those from time to time when we're meeting with clients as we're working on content for this upcoming command. It's been really fun and exciting just thinking about everything that we've got going on that we get to talk about. Trying to narrow it down for what those topics and highlights are going to be has been challenging, but also fun for us. So early bird rates are currently available for command, and the registration link is in the slide. So please consider coming and hanging out with us for a few days in Glendale and other fleet managers that are using the software solution. It's one of my favorite events of the year. Also, where are we going to be? NAFA, we wrapped up a month ago now already? I can't believe it's already been that long. NAFA, we wrapped up a month ago. 2 other conferences that we'll formally be at. We've got GFX in June and NASF in September. So we'll have a booth at both of those. If you're going to be there, please let us know. We would love to connect with our clients while we're at those events. And if there's other places that you're going to be, let us know too, so that we can add those to our list for the future. And then just resources, this is our Agile Fleet team. You've got a client success team, me, Brian, and Jen. You can also reach us at just the CS mailbox, and then any of us can help you there. And then our wonderful technical support team, you guys can reach those at fcsupport@agilefleet.com or by phone, and they're there Monday through Friday, 7 to 7 Eastern Standard Time. I can't say enough awesome things about them as well. As I talk to clients, I get 100% positive feedback about our support team. But if you guys ever need them, that's how you can reach them. And as always, thank you again for joining. If you haven't already, please scan the QR code and give us your feedback about the session. And we look forward to seeing you guys next month. And Sammy, thank you again. This was really great.
Thanks, Sammy.
Thank you for the invite. Time well spent. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
All right, that's it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to send those. We're going to stop the call here in just a minute, but if you think of anything afterwards, feel free to send those directly to us and we'll get back to you guys. So thank you again, everybody.